Girl, was it good? You heard she getting out the car? Yeah. I wonder how she look. Hey, yeah!
I'm out of here! Goodbye!
I can't believe you just did that! You are my stuff and you know it, don't even try.
Stop.
What about women? You mean fish? Yeah. Fish,
My, no, honey. Ain't nothing like coming home to a warm man in the bed.
Who the hell are you?
It looks like Shane. No, Shane ain't that clean.
Can you imagine being so talented that Hollywood rewrites a role specifically meant for RuPaul just to cast you instead? Can you imagine performing 2-hour comedy shows completely improvised for 4 straight years without ever using a script? This is the story of Corwin Anthony Hawkins. And before we're done, you'll discover something so heartbreaking about the timing of his Hollywood breakthrough that it'll change how you watch his movie forever.
You a little late. I'm about to go to lunch, and I'm not a vegetarian, so fish is not on the
Wayman,
menu.
this is a big thing.
Wayman! Hey, Bernard! Marvin.
March 12, 1965 marked the arrival of Corwin Anthony Hawkins in Houston, Texas. Raised in a devout Catholic household, Corwin attended St. Peter's Catholic School alongside his siblings Phoebe, Deidre, and Wilbur Jr. His parents, Wilbur and Joyce Hawkins, brought their children up in the St. Benedict's Catholic Church community. Nothing about this religious upbringing suggested that Corwin would become Texas's most outrageous comedy sensation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Woman to Woman. We have our First Lady, Kelly Kelly, from Beverly Hills.
After graduating in 1982, Corwin discovered an unusual talent that would define his entire career. He could transform himself into anyone, but especially into the biggest female stars of the era. This wasn't just dress up or lip syncing. Corwin had found his calling in the art of female impersonation, and he was about to turn it into something nobody had seen before.
Squeeze me, who am I? This is my room you dropped in last night.
Brother, you better show me some tits or die.
Miss Peaches, you need to come up in here and get this rock wilder.
By the late 1980s, Corwin wasn't just performing in Houston clubs. He was creating a completely new form of entertainment. Every Tuesday night, for 4 straight years, crowds packed into Texas venues to witness something extraordinary, a 2-hour stand-up comedy show that was entirely improvised. Not a single word was scripted. Not one joke was pre-planned. Think about that for a second.
Hi.
I know y'all wondering why I'm dressed like this.
Most comedians work for months perfecting a 1-hour special. Corwin was creating fresh material in real time, and audiences couldn't get enough. His signature move was the transformation. Corwin would arrive looking like absolute elegance. Immaculate bob hairstyle, designer Chanel 2-piece suits, expensive Ferragamo shoes. The crowd would see this pageant queen, this vision of sophistication. Then the music would start, and everything would change.
You heard she getting out the car? Yeah. I wonder how she look. Hey, yeah!
I'm out of here! Goodbye!
As Amazing Grace, his stage persona, Corwin deliberately went against every expectation. While other female impersonators wore long, flowing evening gowns, Corwin chose outfits that challenged the norm. Throughout the show, he changed wardrobe multiple times, each outfit more stunning and expensive than the last. But the clothes were just the beginning.
like I said, I thank all the contestants for coming out tonight. And being Miss Gay Texas is so wonderful because I get to travel all over Texas and meet a lot of wonderful people. And you people in San Antonio especially, you have been very wonderful to me when I was working here regularly. I thank you so much.
The real magic happened when Corwin started working the crowd. If you made the mistake of sitting near the front, you became part of the show whether you wanted to or not. He'd pull you on stage, turn you into a prop for his wild antics, maybe force you to sing, definitely make you dance, and possibly have you talking to your clothes like they'd personally offended you. His comedy arsenal included characters that became legendary in Texas. Kelly Kelly would show up when Corwin needed to roast someone in the audience.
We have our First Lady, Kelly Kelly, from Beverly Hills. We have Aisha from Compton. And we have Ming Lee from Chinatown.
Deborah emerged for the relationship advice nobody asked for, but everybody needed.
Hey, my name's Deborah. And when my coochie gets an itch, ooh!
Phoenicia Poontang brought stories so outrageous that people would cry from laughing. And Miku Waka? Nobody quite knew what Miku Waka was about, but when that character appeared, chaos followed. The most requested performances, though, were his celebrity impersonations. Whitney Houston, Diana Ross, Mariah Carey, and of course, Grace Jones. When Corwin channeled Whitney, clubs would go silent except for gasps of recognition. Every gesture, every head tilt, every hand movement was studied to perfection. Audiences would close their eyes and swear Whitney herself was in the building. But Corwin wasn't content with just local fame. In 1991, he entered the Miss Gay Texas pageant as Amazing Grace.
I was born and raised in the ghetto.
The competition was fierce, with performers from Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, all bringing their best. Corwin didn't just win, he dominated so completely that judges started comparing notes, wondering if they'd just witnessed something historic. The next year brought another crown, Texas Entertainer of the Year. This wasn't a beauty contest anymore. This was recognition of pure talent, and Corwin wore that title like armor as he set his sights on the national stage.
Hi everybody, how y'all doing? I'm so glad to be here. I'm the main National Entertainer of the Year.
I'm proud. Okay, wait. Stop trying to be fish. I'm not fish. I'm crawfish. Something here you can tell.
In 1992, Louisville, Kentucky hosted the National Entertainer of the Year competition. Performers from New York, Los Angeles, Miami, every major city sent their best. Corwin showed up with his suitcases full of costumes and a head full of improvised comedy that nobody could predict or prepare for. The other competitors had rehearsed routines, choreographed numbers, scripted jokes. Corwin walked on stage and made it up as he went along, reading the room, adjusting to the judges, playing off every reaction. When they announced the winner, nobody was surprised. At 27 years old, Corwin Anthony Hawkins was officially the National Entertainer of the Year. This national recognition opened doors Corwin had only dreamed about. Suddenly, he wasn't just performing in Texas clubs. HBO comedy specials wanted him. BET was calling. And then came the invitation that changed everything. Def Comedy Jam. For a performer from the drag circuit to appear on Def Comedy Jam was almost unheard of. This was the show that launched careers that made comedians into household names. Bernie Mac, Chris Tucker, Dave Chappelle, these were Corwin's peers now. And he didn't just appear once. He became a feature performer, bringing his unique brand of improvised chaos to national television.
Thank you, girl. Hey.
The television appearances were a revelation. Mainstream audiences who'd never stepped foot in a drag club were suddenly witnessing Corwin's genius. He'd start a bet as one character, transform mid-joke into another, pull imaginary audience members into scenarios that had viewers checking if this was scripted or real. It wasn't. It never was. Every single moment was Corwin creating comedy gold in real time. Word spread through Hollywood like wildfire. Who was this performer who never used a script? Who could hold an audience for 2 hours with nothing but his imagination? Casting directors started showing up at his shows, sitting in the back, taking notes, making calls. One of those watching was Keenen Ivory Wayans. Fresh off the success of In Living Color and looking to direct his next feature film, Wayans had a problem. He was developing an action comedy called A Low-Down Dirty Shame, and there was a role he couldn't cast. The character was called Peaches, originally written specifically for RuPaul. But then Wayans saw Corwin perform. He watched this master improviser control a room, create comedy from nothing, bring depth to characters that could have been one-dimensional. Wayans made a decision that shocked everyone. Forget RuPaul, rewrite the role. He wanted Corwin.
Say
why did you do that?
Now look, you work with me and I'll call him and tell him it was a joke. Here's what she looks like.
Think about what that means. RuPaul was already becoming a mainstream sensation. Supermodel was climbing the charts. The role was literally written with RuPaul in mind, but Corwin's audition was so powerful, so undeniably perfect, that they changed everything to accommodate his unique energy. The call came in early 1994. Corwin had landed his first movie role, beating out one of the biggest names in drag culture for a part specifically created for them. His friends in Texas couldn't believe it. His family was proud, but nervous. Hollywood was calling, and Corwin was ready.
Sausages. Want one?
No, thanks.
More beef for her?
Production began in Hollywood, and Corwin brought the same fearless energy to the set that he'd perfected in clubs. Between takes, he'd entertained the crew with his impressions. The Whitney Houston performances became legendary among the production team. Someone would mention they missed a Whitney concert, and suddenly Corwin would transform, using whatever was available as a wig, hitting every note of I Will Always Love You while the entire set stopped to watch. Keenen Ivory Wayans later said that Corwin brought something to Peaches that the script never had.
Just because you was cruising in your sleep last night and started speeding.
Okay, that's it.
Hold it.
The improvisation skills meant that Corwin could adjust scenes on the fly, adding jokes that weren't written, finding moments of humanity in what could have been just comic relief. The character of Peaches wasn't just another drag queen in a movie. Corwin made sure of that. He drew from Kelly Kelly's sass,
A little late. I'm about to go to lunch, and I'm not a vegetarian, so fish is not on the
Wayman,
menu.
this is a big thing.
Yoo-hoo, Wayman. Hey, Bernard.
Deborah's wisdom, Venetia Putentane's outrageousness, and Miku Waka's unpredictability. Every scene was Corwin pulling from 4 years of Tuesday night improvisations, from countless pageant performances, from his HBO and Def Comedy Jam appearances.
She's in this Vietnam movie, and all of a sudden you hear these machine guns.
Cast members, including Jada Pinkett, were amazed at Corwin's professionalism. Here was someone who'd never made a movie before, working alongside established actors, and he was stealing scenes without even trying. His natural timing, honed from years of reading crowds, translated perfectly to film.
Miss Peaches, you need to come up in here and get this Rock Wilder.
Okay, wait a minute. All right.
But something was happening that Corwin wasn't telling anyone. He'd been feeling tired, more than usual. The energy that had carried him through 4-hour performances was harder to summon. He pushed through, determined to finish the film, to realize this dream that had seemed impossible just years before. After filming Wrapped, Corwin returned to Texas. He told everyone about the experience, about working with Wayans, about how the crew would gather to watch his impromptu performances. The movie was scheduled for a November 1994 release, and Corwin was already planning multiple viewing parties. One in Houston with his family, one in Dallas with his performance community, maybe even a trip to Los Angeles for the premiere. He also received incredible news. The LA Improv wanted him for an invitational tryout. This wasn't just any comedy club. This was where Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, and Andy Kaufman had performed. For a performer from the Texas drag circuit to get this invitation was unprecedented. Corwin was planning to go after the movie premiered, to use the film as a launching pad for a mainstream comedy career. But by late July 1994, Corwin's health had deteriorated rapidly. What had seemed like exhaustion revealed itself as something far more serious: pneumonia. In an era when pneumonia often signaled something else entirely, Corwin found himself at Baylor Hospital in Dallas, fighting for his life. On August 5th, 1994, at just 29 years old, Corwin Anthony Hawkins passed away. The man who'd improvised his way to fame, who'd beaten RuPaul for a role written specifically for her, who'd made Keenen Ivory Wayans rewrite an entire character just to capture his essence, was gone. And here's the devastating truth. A Lowdown Dirty Shame wouldn't hit theaters until November 23rd, 1994. Corwin died 3.5 months before his movie premiered. He never saw himself on the big screen. He never heard audiences laugh at his performance. He never got to attend the premiere he'd been planning for months. When the movie was released, Critics praised the character of Peaches as one of the film's highlights. They had no idea they were watching the first and only film performance of someone who died months earlier. Audiences loved the energy, the authenticity, the humor that Corwin brought to every scene. His family attended screenings in Houston, watching their son live on through film. Fellow performers from the Texas circuit organized memorial viewings, telling stories between showings about Corwin's legendary Tuesday night performances. The Dallas clubs where he'd performed for years held tribute shows, though everyone agreed nobody could recreate what Corwin did. The timing becomes even more cruel when you realize what was happening in 1994. This was the year The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and To Wong Fu were being filmed. Hollywood was finally ready to embrace performers like Corwin. His combination of improvisation skills, mainstream comedy experience from Def Comedy Jam, and natural charisma could have led to a significant career. Directors who saw A Low Down Dirty Shame inquired about hiring this fresh talent, only to learn of his passing. The LA Improv spot that could have launched him into mainstream stand-up comedy went to someone else. The doors that were opening would never be walked through. They buried him at Memorial Cemetery in Houston with the inscription Amazing Grace on his headstone. It was fitting. He'd lived his life as Amazing Grace, that fearless character who could transform any room, any audience, any moment into pure entertainment.
Chinese woman, they think.
But the story doesn't end there. In 2019, 25 years after his death, something remarkable happened. Young drag performers who weren't even born when Corwin died started discovering his work through A Low Down Dirty Shame. They'd watch his performance and ask, who was this? Why don't we know more about him? Social media began circulating clips of his performance, introducing a new generation to Corwin's genius. Drag Race contestants started citing him as an influence. Comedy historians began recognizing him as a pioneer who bridged the gap between drag performance and mainstream comedy before it was acceptable or safe to do so. The tragedy remains that Corwin never knew his impact. He died thinking he was just a performer from Texas who got lucky with one movie role. He never knew that role would inspire countless others. He never knew that beating RuPaul for that part would become legendary in drag history. He never knew that his improvisation skills would be studied by comedians trying to understand how someone could create 2 hours of comedy from nothing. Today, at 5'9", Corwin might have seemed small on that big screen, but his presence was enormous. Every character he created, Kelly Kelly, Deborah, Phoenicia Puntane, Miku Waka, lived on through that one film performance. Every Tuesday night improvisation, every pageant victory, every Def Comedy Jam appearance led to that one role that he never got to see himself perform. What would Corwin Anthony Hawkins have become if pneumonia hadn't claimed him at 29? Would he have become the first drag performer to successfully cross over into mainstream comedy films? Would his LA improv tryout have led to comedy specials? Would we mention him alongside Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence's comedy giants of the 90s? We'll never know, but we do know this. For one brief moment, Corwin Hawkins was exactly where he belonged, in front of a camera, making people laugh, proving that talent transcends categories and labels. He lived his entire professional life without a script, making it up as he went along, trusting his instincts and his ability to read the room. A Low Down Dirty Shame remains his only film credit, a 90-minute testament to what could have been. When you watch it, remember, you're not just watching a performance, you're watching a revolution that ended too soon, a dream realized but never experienced, and the final act of Amazing Grace.